Hello and welcome to Autocar Professionals Inner Circle. At the sidelines of the event, we are catching up with Matter Group's CEO, Mr. Mohal Lalbhai. Hello, sir. Thank you for talking to us. It's a very uncertain time for the industry. We're in the middle of the war. We don't know whether, the ICE situation, the fuel, the LPG crisis now, and with, you're a big stakeholder in the electric vehicle space. Let's start with that. How do you see that impacting? Sure, it's going to be a short-term blip, but do you see that, impacting the demand at all?
I mean, the footfalls increased, inquiries have increased, but I personally don't think 2 weeks of the war is sufficient enough for consumers to kind of make that decision. I think if this persists for some more duration, customers will actually start making the choices which they are kind of pushing out right now just because of the uncertainty.
Right.
But overall, I think the war or otherwise, we are seeing that a lot of customers are actively considering electric two-wheelers into the mix now as a part of their retinue.
Right. But between motorcycles and scooters have seen a better uptake. Motorcycles is still, as an industry, I mean, the kind of growth that we were expecting, we've not seen it because of reasons that we will get into. Do you see that segmentation happening and becoming broader and more defined with time?
So I think motorcycles are 2/3 of India's two-wheeler market, and you're looking at about 20% penetration on the scooter side. Motorcycles historically didn't exist in the EV space. So, I mean, we're talking in 2026, we are roughly at the same inflection point, which is 2021, when scooters were just about to break out. So, with motorcycles here, we are essentially kind of at a 5-year lag in terms of getting the tech out, getting the products out. I think even today, consumers have, I would say, limited choice as far as motorcycles are concerned. But on the scooter side, consumers have enough and more options for varying needs.
Yeah. But then as a company who's invested in this and you've studied the market and you're, connected with the consumer, do you see demand uptick from your own? Where is that inflection point going to come in according to you?
I think 2026 is going to be that inflection point for motorcycles because we've been in the market now, kind of piloting, establishing our distribution, kind of taking it slow. We are going to be ramping in. We hear that the large incumbent players have, very recently put down filings and patents around electric motorcycles. So that means that, I'm hoping to see more products from them coming in 2026 or maybe in 27. The idea is that once customers get some kind of choice, that purchase becomes real.
The market expands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think 2026, by the looks and sounds of it, is going to be that inflection year.
Right. And has policy kept up with the kind of expected demand? Because we see FAME ending, we see a lot of discounts in the two-wheeler space right now. People are sort of lapping it up because there is sort of uncertainty. And with this ending, this might impact you as well. This might impact the prices going further, up. So how do you deal with that?
So, I mean, in a way, the government's been very clear about FAME and how they're going to be phasing it out. Actually, they did extend it in, albeit a different avatar, for the last 2 years, so that there is still a long tail on how and when they discontinue it. But having said that, 99.99% of the benefit has gone to the scooter space because the motorcycle tech and the products weren't ready.
Yeah.
Come 2026, when they are ready, is when it's being phased out. So it would
Bit
be
of an
great
unfair,
if motorcycles got that advantage. But if not, it's not that we aren't prepared. It will become a open market and a free market much faster. So it's to be seen. I mean, you can't bank on government support at this point in time, and there's no conversation around it. If it does come in, it will definitely help. But I don't think overall at the place India's market is, I mean, it will swing the needle, but well, it's to be seen how and what the government comes up with.
But you are expecting like a different form of it, because we've seen markets like China and Europe extending their subsidies and growing on the basis of that. In India, that hasn't happened for a longer time as we would have expected.
So, I mean, taxpayers' money to charity is what subsidies end up being, and here they had a very noble cause, and I think to a certain extent, I mean, the government, when it came up with the National Electric Mobility Mission Plan, they had a 30% penetration target. I think considering the product mix available, which is just scooters, and them reaching 20% already, I think a fair share of the work has been done. Some additional support won't hurt, but I think the government really has to a large extent fulfilled what it's set out to do.
Okay. And for Matter, what is the kind of expectation of demand curve like? Do you, again, post-March, do you see a lot of growth till March, and then post that, are you expecting like a dip and then stabilizing growth?
So I think in the motorcycle space, when you have about 15 million motorcycles being shipped out, today's market is a tenth of a percentage. I mean, we do 15,000 motorcycles in 15 million motorcycle market.
Yeah.
I don't think dipping for the next 3 or 4 years is going to be a conversation anyone in any boardroom is going to see, because
Okay.
even if you take 10% of the market over the next 3 years, that's still 1.5 million motorcycles that have to go out in a year. So there's a lot of room available for people to grow.
So you're saying this as a short-term blip. In the long term, you see a lot of growth potential.
Long term, it's inevitable. I mean, the country will move to, I mean, in India, we are not choosing EVs because they are green. We are not choosing EVs because they're a fashionable conversation. I don't think we are choosing EVs because, it helps the planet. We can't afford that. What we can afford is the lower cost of running an EV offers.
Yeah, it has to make business sense for the consumer.
So it's a win-win, but I don't think the eco-conscious is the primary driver for the choice being made. It is really something that is helping the customers or the rider's pocket. That's really the conversation driver out here.
Yeah, and that is based on that. That's going to continue.
Yeah.
That's the expectation. Okay. Lastly, just tell me, like for example, if you talk about government schemes and subsidies, taking that conversation forward, we've seen PLI schemes benefiting a lot of players, but then startups, it's not so much. And startups is someone who needs that kind of initial push and that capital investment, and there were like a lot of caveats that were sort of disadvantageous to them. So how do you respond to that? Should there have been a better inclusion of startups? Is it like tougher to run a automotive startup in India because of challenges like these?
I mean, running a hardware startup in India is hard, and it's always going to be difficult. I don't think being a startup or a new line of business in a large company is that different. I think the support that the government wants to offer through the PLI is needed for both. I think what was unfair is the exclusion of startups from that thing. I mean, everyone needs that support equally. There's no need to exclude. That would be my only observation as far as the PLI is concerned.
Because that could have sort of catapulted people like you to sort of make sure.
Us, it would have helped a lot in terms of kind of setting it up, in terms of the operations, in terms of the scaling. It would have definitely helped. But having said that, I think, again, there must have been logics for why startups were excluded.
Right. Leave us with the kind of growth potential that you see for Matter, considering the kind of things that we have discussed. There's war, there's short-term demand blip, there's fame ending. Considering all of that, where do you expect the year to end? And for the next year, if you could share some expectations with us, that would be...
So I think, we are going to be closer to doing 20x in terms of volume from last year, and then closer to another 5x the year after.
Okay.
And it's obviously a slope which is declining, but I think for us, we are looking at this year as the breakthrough year for Matter.
Okay, and then like path to profitability is like a long-term game, or you're seeing it, growth versus profitability again is a big question for a founder at this stage.
So I think hardware businesses are not, growth versus profitability. Profitability is something which is core inherent to growth. I mean, if you're not profitable, you're never going to get anywhere. So
Yeah.
I don't think that's a trade-off. I mean, for other kinds of businesses, that could be an option.
Yeah.
But for
You don't
hardware,
have an
I
option.
genuinely don't think you
Yeah,
have
so
an
you're
option.
always prepared with or without subsidies, with or without
Yeah,
support. You're always
profitability
prepared
has to be the focus.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you so much, and thank you
All
so much
right,
for
thank you.
spending time with
Thank
Autocar
you.
Professional. Thank you.